Cool. Right. So, obviously, diving into I think what we'll call part three of doing gig Q&As. We're obviously sitting down with yourself. We figured, Derek, as I said to you before, we wanted to get a kind of freelance perspective compared to the role we've done before with kind of experts in the freelance world. So, basically, just jumping straight in, do you want to just give us kind of a quick summary of your career and what you've kind of done over the last couple of years?
Yeah, no problem at all. So I'm Derek Howie. I run Howie Writes. It's a freelance copywriting agency. God, yeah, I've been doing this for the last 5 years. Started in 2016. Had worked in various roles before then. Actually started out as a footballer many years ago as a young boy. Done that for 3 or 4 years, and then went back to college and university. Actually studied journalism first for a while, and then kind of went into digital marketing. Worked in an agency for a year or two. And then from there, started making the move slowly in towards content and copywriting. Worked in the public sector with NHS for a while. And that was probably where I started doing sort of copywriting and content, and probably content design as it's known now. But at that point, that's when I started getting involved in content editing and things like that.
Right, cool.
From there, moved into financial services, which is where I've got a lot of my work over the years. But at that point, I worked for AXA. I went perm with them for a couple of years.
Okay.
Right out there, and basically writing all the copy for AXA business insurance. That was a real opportunity for me to work across all different types of copy. I do a lot of UX copywriting now, but at that point when I was doing that, probably UX copy wasn't even really known as a thing at that point. But that was where I started working on micro copy and online applications and mobile apps and things like that. So I'd done a lot of that. From there, I got an opportunity to start contracting, so day rate contracting. So I went in with Clydesdale Bank and took on a day rate contract. And effectively at that point, so that was in 2016, that was my first sort of foray into the freelance world. And from there, sort of never looked back. The last 5 years, I've been running my own business, contracting, freelancing. And it's been fantastic since.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously we're huge advocates for the whole freelancing thing. We've said it before, we'll say it again. So the big thing for me that I always find really interesting for people, especially that came from a kind of permanent route, then into doing day rate contracting, then into doing the whole freelancing thing. My big question is, what was the kind of, was it like a deciding factor, or was it like a eureka sort of film moment? But like, was there a certain thing that happened that kind of made you do that flip from contracting to freelancing? Was there something that made you think, oh, I can definitely do this kind of more full time? It's a lot better.
From moving from contracting or moving from permanent contracting?
Well, I suppose we could do both. But obviously, contracting and freelancing, they're similar, but also very, very different.
Yeah, of course. So I guess from perm to contracting first, money.
I know, that's always it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd been toying with the idea of freelancing for a long time, even going back to my agency days, and I knew what I was getting quoted at. I knew the amount of money that clients were paying for my services, and obviously at that point in my life, I wasn't making anywhere near that. Do you know what I mean? As a young boy in a digital agency, you're not making a huge amount of money, but I knew what my day rate was.
Yeah,
I was always aware of what I could put my services out at, and the sort of prices I could charge. And then I was working perm, making a half decent salary, and I got offered a contract on a really good day rate. And for me, that was a no-brainer. Even it was only a 6-month contract at that time, but the way I looked at it is, even if nothing comes of this after the 6 months, and I only do 6 months, I'll just go back and get another job. That was the way I looked at it. I was making more in that 6 months than I would make in 2 years, I think, on a full-time salary. So for me, that was the opportunity I needed to go out on my own. I'd been playing it over and over in my mind for a long time. So that was the opportunity for me to go and do that. And then from a freelance perspective, for me, unlike a lot of day rate contractors, as soon as I started contracting, as we would call it, in my head I was a freelancer right away. I didn't consider myself a day rate contractor at all. And I guess as a copywriter, I'm fortunate in a sense that I don't necessarily need to be sort of on site or involved in the project every step of the way. So you guys will work with people like UX designers and business analysts and product owners and things like that. Those sort of people generally need to be quite involved in a project.
Mhm.
I'm quite different. I can step in and out at certain times, and I can obviously work remotely as we all are now. But even at that point, 5 years ago, so right away, I considered myself a freelancer. And even although I was doing a day rate contract, for me that was just one of my clients, and I was very, very clear about that at that point. So I was working on lots and lots of different clients right away, effectively, and working quite hard at that particular point in my life. Like, so I would maybe get up at 6, 7 and work on a bit of freelance projects, and then I would maybe do my day rate contract, and then I'd go out for my lunch and do a little bit more work on another freelance client. So I immediately, and you know what, ever since, I've been working across multiple clients, whether that's day rate contract or small short-term projects.
Yep. No, I think it's definitely a good way to look at it. I think most people, when they make the switch from perm to contract, especially, it usually is the money, isn't it? I remember when I started doing recruitment, and I went from doing some perm stuff to contract stuff, and just going, geez, some of these guys are making a ridiculous amount of money every day. You know, like it certainly it is appealing, but then you've also got to then deal with obviously recruiters and agencies and stuff, and that becomes the bigger pain in your life.
Yeah, obviously there's a risk as well associated with that. Like, you're running your own business, and yeah, if you do it properly, and if you're not just sitting at the one client and just taking your money, you've got the risks associated with all your marketing and putting in the cost of advertising and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there are some contractors who are quite happy to just sit at one client at a time and take the money, and that's fine as well. There's no problem at all with that, and I think a lot of that's sort of job dependent and role dependent, like I said earlier. Like, if you're a sort of solutions designer or a solutions architect, can you really do that on a sort of freelance basis and work with multiple clients? I'm not entirely sure, but for me, yeah, it was always a case of working across as many clients and industries as I could.